Home of the famous $5 footlong is starting off 2011 with a winning lineup of your Subway favorite $5 footlongs. From the Spice-alicious spicy Italian to the low-fat Black Forest ham, flavored up with juicy tomatoes and kickin' jalapenos. Subway, where winners eat. The B.S. Report is a free-flowing conversation that occasionally touches on mature subjects.
First of all,
this is the B.S. Report with Bill Simmons.
It might be cool, I don't know. And if it's not, I don't care.
The B.S. Report with Bill Simmons.
Bill Simmons works for ESPN. He's also named the sports guy, and he writes a comical sports column. He must be a popular dude.
The B.S. Report.
It's got a real dirty sound, like a rusty steak knife cutting through a well-aged steak.
Now.
Here's Bill Simmons.
Welcome to the B.S. Report. This is going to hurt for everybody back east, but it's a sunny day here in Southern California. We had to get our old pal Jay Soderberg in here as the producer because Bristol snowed in, right, Jay?
Yeah, pretty much. What's funny is I live the furthest away out of everybody. I made it.
Oh, you're a gamer.
Yeah, I am.
You're like Peyton Manning. On the Subway Fresh Take Hotline, as always, for our final week of the regular season, Cousin Sal, what's happening?
What's happening, man? Yeah, we almost had to delay this podcast. It's so sunny out here. We were worried, like, the phone lines would like scorch up in the middle of it. And I'm like, yeah, let's do this podcast Thursday because it's too hot. It's too much of a risk. And but you're like, Lombardi would have pushed on. So here we are Monday morning.
There's so much sun here in Southern California that I couldn't get to my ISDN line. I couldn't see it. I was blinded, so I had to do this by phone. So let's quickly talk about them canceling the Philly-Minnesota game last night because of snow. And I know it was bad, and I know it was a blizzard. It was 40-mile-an-hour winds, but I kind of thought that's what football was supposed to be about. You play whatever the elements are, right?
I agree. Although right now it's really changed for the fans. Like, football is about who you need in fantasy at this point. Like, I need McCoy to score 30 points, so I would like the field to clear up a little. But yeah, I think it's cool to go out there and say let them play and the elements and everything. I definitely think they should have played it.
Wait, so you think there were some fantasy implications to this decision? That's interesting. I've not heard that theory.
I'm just saying. Well, I mean, there could be. I'm just saying. There's a lot people won't talk about, Bill, and we can't get into it now.
How great would it be if Roger Goodell, it came out that he had LaShawn McCoy on his fantasy team, and he needed he was 12 points back, and McCoy was the only guy left, and that's why he canceled the game. I think he'd get fired for that.
That would be spectacular. Out of all the atrocities he has to put his foot down on. That's great. I'd like to see Michael Vick on skis, actually. I bet he could do it all.
2010 banged home yet again that fantasy football is a crapshoot and it's ridiculous, and there's no reason to ever lose sweat over this because you look at some of the Week 16 no-shows. Well, Chris Johnson, no-show.
Yeah.
Peterson might not play. Who else do we have? Peyton Manning didn't have did Peyton Manning have? Oh, Peyton Manning did the slide on the 2-yard line that cost everybody 6 points at the very end.
That, to me, is all you need to know about fantasy right there. Like, it's so out of your hands when a guy is going to, and there was some confusion there because Deerdorf is like, well, he stopped because he knew he was going to get caught. Like, what? Is that what you do when you think you're going to get caught? You just stop or you go the extra 2 yards and score?
Deerdorf had locked himself into one of the worst points of the season and then kept it going. He wouldn't let it go.
Yeah, I know. I think I don't know. I just that I would hate Peyton Manning if I were a Peyton Manning owner. There's not a commercial that could make up for it there. It's like
he was so happy after. He was like beaming.
Oh, I know.
He's so pleased with himself.
The quarterback that allegedly sexually assaulted girls in a bathroom was one thing. The guy who electrocuted dogs. No. I hate the one that stopped short 2 yards before the pay dirt.
The 6 point, who gives away the 6 fantasy points.
Yeah, God forbid they go up 13 against the Raiders and with a minute left. Like, they're going to come back from that.
I haven't seen Peyton Manning that happy since he tried to knock Austin Collie out for the third time in the season by leading him into a safety.
Yeah.
So yesterday was a little bit of a letdown, I felt like, Week 16. Especially the late games. So we were fired up for that Packer-Giants game, and the Giants are just, I guess there was no coming back from that Michael Vick comeback. The early games, what was our favorite game of the early games?
What did we like? What did we have on the? Well, we had the Jets wasn't early. What did we have? We had the Pats on.
Really
change that.
There wasn't any come down to the wire awesome finishes in any of the games that we liked. It was a little disappointing.
There wasn't really anything. What was I going to say about it? The AFC West is a disappointing thing. I was hoping we'd have San Diego would be in the mix in the last week. I mean, that would have been fun. But now KC, and they deserve it, clinch a division, and now there's like 3 games that don't mean anything.
Can we stop with the Phil Rivers as the next Dan Marino now?
Yeah, I know.
I'm pretty sure Dan Marino goes into Cincinnati yesterday and wins the game in his prime. I'm just throwing it out there. Almost positive.
Rivers down the stretch, except for that Thursday night game. He was a little shaky, like the last month of the season.
Yeah, that was. We ended up losing a little bit of money on that one.
Yes,
we had a 4-team money line parlay, and the last piece of it was the Chargers. All they had to do was win.
And we were brutalized through that Rams game. We were like screaming at them, like, we're kicking ourselves for even taking the Rams. But that was our iffy game. And once we got through that, we thought it was smooth sailing.
It seems like they may have fired Mike Singletary on the plane home.
You think so? Yeah, it was pretty quick, wasn't it?
I don't even think the plane had landed and he didn't have a job. Which raises the question, did they just walk over to his seat? Did they ask to see him in the airplane bathroom?
Yeah, they probably had the flight attendant do it.
You actually got his drink order.
You don't want Samurai Mike going off on you at 35,000 feet. So just have.
I think that we're going to look back and wonder how many wins he cost that team, because somebody had to be good in that division. It was probably the 49ers, and Vegas just kept giving them credit every week, assuming that this would be the week they turned it around, and it just never happened. They're 5-10.
And it's the one thing if you're the Bills and you got the Pats and the Jets in your division, but that NFC West, the 2010 NFC West, is going to go down as one of the worst ever. And you could arguably say the Niners, had the most talent, and they not only didn't get it done, they were laughable in many games. So you got to get rid of them.
Let's hit Week 17 now. A word to the wise with Week 17. This is something we've actually, I think, done pretty well betting Week 17.
Yeah,
in the past, because you can't get roped into the whole, that team has nothing to play for, but supposedly they're playing their starters. Just assume they won't.
Right. Well, and also, here's the thing I'll say, and also there's like 8 games you can cross out anyway, because you're just like, well, who knows who's playing in this game, and it doesn't matter. So that narrows it down to games you could take. But I kind of feel like the NFL is playing Jeff Probst a little bit with some of this flexing,
Right.
Like, I don't know, like Philly could rest their guys. They had three games in 12 days, and they could rest their guys if they knew that Chicago won. But they were flexed to the afternoon, and now, I don't know, it just let the schedule be. You don't change the matchups the last season because it's interesting. Just let it be what it's going to be.
The most egregious was not having Tampa, New Orleans as the Sunday night game next week.
Yeah, move that tonight. That definitely means something, doesn't it?
Well, no, I think they should have moved it tonight, but they were afraid to because there was a scenario where the game meant nothing for Tampa.
Right, I guess.
So they wanted to
New Orleans
avoid that.
still have to win? I think the problem is if New Orleans wins tonight, they're in. So that game wouldn't mean anything. But I think if they lose tonight, they would have to win no matter what next week, right?
Yeah, I don't remember a year where we've had this many teams locked in, because the AFC is locked in. If New Orleans wins tonight, I think everything's locked in.
And let me tell you something. They flexed that St. Louis, Seattle. I mean, what is NBC doing? That makes the Jay Leno to 10 o'clock look genius. It really does.
I like it. I'm fired up for Sam Bradford and Charlie Whitehurst.
Phil Carter's writing a book about this decision, I think.
It's like me and my buddy Jacko. We had those old jokes about the terrible matchups that they'd have to promote. And this one's like, Whitehurst, Bradford, the NFL and NBC. This could be great.
But doesn't it also screw Seattle a little bit? Like I think both these teams are garbage, but it doesn't screw St. Louis, I should say. Like, it would seem that Seattle would be a tough place to win, and then you're making this a night game, and Bradford less and less likely to pull it off, the rookie.
Couldn't agree more. You have probably not great weather, night game, loud stadium, rookie QB. But, I mean, the flip side of that would be if Whitehurst is the starting quarterback, he's not going to be any less nervous than Bradford.
Oh, man.
It could be an awful game. I can't wait.
Oh, it's going to be.
One thing about the Seahawks, I think we mentioned this last week, I think every game they're 6-9, and I think every game they've lost has been like by 15 points or more, and they kept the streak alive yesterday. It's one of those teams that if they lose, they lose.
Oh yeah.
So if you like the Rams this week, don't worry about the points. Well, we haven't even done the line.
But that's why it's like such a risk for NBC. Both these teams, if they lose, they lose. So not only is this a garbage game, it could be over in the first quarter. So,
well, I like the Rams, and I've had some success this year taking them against other bad teams. And I think they might. Them and Tampa are the two teams that seem to just take care of business when they're going against other bad teams.
I agree.
Anyway.
Let's get to them. All right, so they moved all these games around. I'm trying to stay in order here. So no Saturday games, which is weird. It's usually a Saturday game.
Well, let's talk about that very quickly.
Yeah.
I used to love the Saturday games.
So what is it? They just don't want one New Year's. It just must be New Year's Day, and they don't want to compete with these. They must have an agreement with the NCAA. Who does
like an unspoken agreement?
Because they don't have any bowl games on the Sundays, so.
Well, then do Friday games. Everybody's got Friday off this week.
There could be a New Year's Eve game, definitely. Definitely should have done it.
Well, what about last week? They only had, I guess because of Christmas, so they just got screwed by the holidays.
Yeah, exactly. They should flex that Seattle game to 4 in the morning New Year's Day when no one's up.
That was one of my favorite things about my marriage and your marriage is our wives' reaction to the 2 Saturday afternoon games.
Exactly.
What? So you're going both afternoons? What? Yes, I am.
Yep. It's not pretty. It's not pretty. All right, Minnesota at Detroit. I mean, I feel like Minnesota has like 3 games to play before they get to this one.
Poor Minnesota.
They're on the bad weather tour.
Not only the bad weather tour, but they're on the this is going to prove why we're either going to need a new stadium or we're going to leave for Los Angeles tour. We mentioned this last week, I think, but Detroit has covered every week except twice since week 5. And
they're not bad at all.
They're this year's cover team.
Yep.
And Vegas actually gave them a lot of credit in Week 16 in Miami. That line dropped to like 3 by game time. They were just begging anybody to take Miami, and still. I'm going to say Detroit by 6.5.
All right, wow. You and Vegas give them a ton of credit because it's, I thought it would be 3. I guess 3 for a lot of these that I wasn't sure on, and it's 7. So you get that one.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a lot. You wouldn't think Detroit at this stage in the year would be giving 7 to anybody, but
they are an underrated 5-10 team. They really could have gone. They would have won the NFC West. Put it that way.
Yeah. So Pittsburgh at Cleveland is next.
Who?
Now Pittsburgh. The Steelers win, they get the division and a bye, right? They get the 2 seed.
Is that true?
I'm pretty sure they would get the 2 seed, right? Pats.
So there's no chance KC can get the 2 seed unless Pittsburgh loses that and then KC wins?
Yeah,
KC getting a 2 seed would be incredible.
Pittsburgh would have to lose for them to get a 2 seed, right?
Right.
And one less, yeah.
Well, this game isn't totally unlosable.
No. I kept waiting for Cleveland to do something yesterday, right? We were checking in on the game, and the Ravens just smothered them. And then I looked, I'm like, oh, Cleveland has a white running back. Why did I take them?
Their offense went south, Cleveland. They were a team that they seemed like they were going to do in the AFC what Detroit did in the NFC with these covers. And the last couple weeks, they just stopped scoring for some reason. I'm going to say Steelers by 7.
All right, I hit this exactly. I said 6, and it is, in fact, 6. So
that's a teaser.
Yeah. We should take that now before that balloons to 9.
Well, there's no scenario that the Steelers don't need that game right now.
Right.
So, and
they're playing the same time as the Ravens, so
the 2 seed would be magnificent for them.
Yeah,
that opens up a lot of doors. Because then the other great thing about the 2 seed this year in the AFC is you're locked in hosting KC in round 2. KC's great at home. On the road,
you're already giving the KC the win in the opening round.
I'm just saying.
I swear, 6 weeks ago we said that's the team we're betting against in the playoffs. We have.
Yeah, but I told you yesterday in my football confessional that I'm probably going to pick KC in round 1 now. I think they've shown me enough at home that's a legitimate home team.
So that'll be next Saturday, not this Saturday coming up, but next Saturday. It's looking like Jets at KC right now.
Do your thing about how you think the TV schedule is going to go in round 1.
NBC has the first and last choice in the 4 games.
Which is this should be televised. I would watch this.
Just how they pick it? Yeah, I know.
No, I mean, they should put this on SportsCenter at 6 o'clock.
Right.
Here we go. NBC's about to make their first choice.
So their first choice, I would think, it's between Jets at KC, and provided everything ends the way it does, or Baltimore at Indy, which is also a good game. Which would you take if you're NBC? Keep in mind, they had Baltimore at Indy last year as a night game.
So they can't choose the NFC games, obviously.
They can, but the NFC game would be, what do we think? Let's say Philly would be home. I guess Green Bay at Philly would be another choice.
So you're saying they choose this for Sunday night, or that they have Saturday early and Sunday late, so they can choose the game to put Sunday late?
No, they have both Saturday games. NBC has both Saturday games. So they're going to pick their night game. Their primetime game is going to be the best one, obviously. So we're assuming that Green Bay and New Orleans are the wild cards. Yeah.
They want no part of the Rams. So it would be, who's going to be the 3 seed?
They're getting the Rams. They're getting New Orleans at the Rams or New Orleans at Seattle as their last pick. That'll be the last
fourth pick.
Right. So that's the early game Saturday. So which night game do you take? Jets at KC, Baltimore at Indy, or... So you couldn't really do Philly. You couldn't do Philly-Green Bay because you can't have 2 NFC games on Saturday. So I think it would have to be an AFC game.
You mean... But what if they chose Philly-Green Bay first? Then they would have to take. I guess that would be a smart thing because then they would get the. Yeah. Oh, they're doing Philly-Green Bay.
You think so?
Best game. Yeah. Michael Vick. He's the highest ratings you can get.
So. Boy, that is a good way to screw over Fox and CBS. Just take Philly-Green Bay, and then you have to take an AFC game for the early.
So they would have Saturday night Philly-Green Bay, then Fox.
This is assuming a lot that everything stays as it is, but yeah. Then
are you
Fox,
sure they don't have to take both AFC games? Or no, Fox and CBS each gets 1 game on Sunday, right?
Exactly. So Fox would get.
Fox is screwed. They're stuck with St. Louis versus New Orleans.
That can't be right.
It's right if the scenario you just laid out where NBC gets first pick.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
You can't have both conference games in the same day, and
all right, so here's how it plays out.
Yeah.
So it's Jets at Kansas City, the early Saturday game. And then after that, Philly-Green Bay Saturday night. Yeah. And then the next day, it would be, the early game would be St. Louis hosting, who do we say?
Like New Orleans.
New Orleans. And then the night game would be Baltimore-Indy, the late afternoon.
Yeah. I think, God, that's a good sequence. I can't believe they let them get away with Fox having that terrible Rams or Seattle home game.
Fox is furious. We paid $2 billion. What the hell?
But anyway, Oakland at KC is the next one.
I love that Jets Kansas City Saturday early afternoon.
That would be great.
I'm picking Kansas City right now. I'm in.
Wow.
Put my pick in. They win that game. Thomas Jones's revenge.
Oh, you're right.
All right, what's the next game?
Oakland at Kansas City, which means nothing now.
Well, it means a lot if you're Jamal Charles and you're trying to have one of the greatest random running back seasons ever.
That's true.
I'm going to say Chiefs. Oh, yeah, this means, well, the Chiefs could go for the number 2 seed still.
Yeah, well, now let's see. Will they know if
the Steelers lose at the same time as they're beating the Raiders, they get the 2 seed.
Well, they'll have their eyes on it, yeah.
So I'm going to say Chiefs by 8.
Well, let me see why. Then we should lock into this now because right now they have Chiefs by 3.5. And I said 3. All right,
well, then maybe we got this wrong and there's no way they can get the 2 seed.
Maybe they can't. God, I really was hoping I'd have this settled before I came on. 10
yeah,
5,
guys, I don't believe Kansas City can get the 2 seed.
They can't?
No.
They can't.
They would end up with a tied record, so I believe there's a tiebreaker that either Pittsburgh or Baltimore would win.
Yeah, okay. I'd like to change my pick to KC by 3.5.
I'm taking that one. I'm sorry. Come on, I'm 4-9 for the year.
All right, take that one. You gave me false information.
Jay's right. Kansas City would be 7-5 in the conference, and Pittsburgh 9-3, I guess, or 8-4 if they lost.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. So the Chiefs 3.5, and people think they're going to mail in that game. But I don't. I think the Chiefs. I think they want to go 8-0 at home and lay the smack down and all that stuff. I don't know if they'd roll over in that game.
They'd probably start everyone for a half. Who knows? Who knows? We're going to have the same conversation for the next 7 games.
Yeah, that's probably a stay away.
Carolina and Atlanta, another stay away.
And Carolina clinched the number 1 pick, so they actually don't have to roll over.
They did. Roll over. They're going to be resting their players for the 16th straight week. Carolina.
Well, this one stinks because if the Falcons win tonight, they clinch the number 1 seed. But if they don't win today, then they actually have to play in that game.
Right.
I'm going to say Falcons by 13.
All right, so you get this one because I thought it would mean nothing, and I said Falcons by 4, and it's Falcons by 9.
Oh, I barely won.
You're still closer, yeah. I don't know how you picked that one.
Well,
Neither team won.
If the Falcons lose tonight, that game moves to Falcons by 13 or 14.
Yeah, but if they win, it moves down, right? Because they'll have nothing to play for.
So it's interesting. If you like the Saints tonight and you live in Vegas, you also probably want to grab the Falcons -9 because that line will move 5 points if they lose.
Interesting. All right, Cincinnati at Baltimore.
So this one, Baltimore is playing for something.
Baltimore can win the division, I guess get a 2 seed if they win and Pittsburgh loses.
And they're locked into the number 5 seed probably regardless.
I think so because they beat the Jets head-to-head, and I think so.
Yeah. I'm going to give this one the Ravens by 10.
All right, you get it. I said 9. It's 10.5. So you're on top of that.
What did we make of Carson Palmer last week? Guy's washed up. He loses his 2 best receivers, and he turns into Tom Brady.
Is it? I think it's because he lost his 2 best receivers. I mean, it's not enough that they're the 2 best. They're headaches. I think he liked not having to lock into one of them. And let me ask you this. I didn't check the tweet log, but do you think either Ocho Cinco or T.O. were rooting for the Bengals yesterday?
No.
Honest to God.
No, they weren't.
No way, right? Not one play.
I'm not saying Palmer tanked it when he had those guys, but I wonder if maybe his personality wasn't meant to deal with 2 prima donna egos like that.
Yeah.
And now he is much more relaxed just not having them out there.
And you have to think Marvin Lewis is like, oh, what could have been? Man, wow.
Man, if I'd only played these random dudes.
Yeah, I would have had a much easier life and maybe a job next year. All right, Miami at New England.
This is a good one because Miami has the chance to pull off the incredible 1-7 at home, 7-1 on the road.
They're just happy to get out of Miami, just the friendlier confines of Foxborough.
Now, I'm a Pats fan. I should know this, and I can't remember. But the Pats, if I remember, they end up trying hard in these games.
Of course they do, if you remember. Of course, they never take their foot off the gas. Never, ever.
Even they'll have the reserves come in, and those guys will play well.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Pats by 6.5.
All right, I think I get this because I said 3, and it's 4.5.
Yeah, you get that.
I barely get it.
I still like the Pats, and Chad Henne, I think, has the conch right now. I know it's supposed to be called conch, but I like calling it conch.
Yeah, he's got both of those, whatever it is.
He's got both of those as, I think, the worst quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
He's just absolutely terrible.
It'd be funny if Brady, he wanted to keep his consecutive start streak going, so he took 1 snap, but then he fumbled the snap and broke the turnover streak. That could happen.
His turnover streak, if you've actually watched these games, he's had some help.
He has, right?
There's been 7 or 8 dropped interceptions during this no turnover streak. I mean, he's having a great year, but it just goes to show you how much luck is involved and stuff like that.
Yeah, but you got the mystique going too. That's the other thing it goes to show you.
I'll say one thing about this game. All year, every time you think they're going to pull Brady, he plays like an extra quarter. Mm-hmm. He's played. They had to drag him out of that Bears game.
Oh yeah.
No, when they were up 30. So I wouldn't be surprised if he played 3 quarters in this game.
I could see it. See it.
Guess how many career fumbles Jarvis Green Ellis has?
But it's going to be 0, 1?
It's going to be 0.
Really?
He
Not
might
even
be,
as many as his names?
He might be the best running back Brady has ever had.
What did we say? He has 13 touchdowns or 12?
Yeah, he's going to finish with 1,200 yards and 13 touchdowns.
Oh, man.
Say the only other good running back Brady's ever had was the one good Corey Dillon season before he gained all that weight.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's been just schlubs and no names. And
I'm telling you, if people were screaming law firm for no reason at Corey Dillon, he would have, he would have turned it on too.
You might be right.
It's a great motivator. Tampa Bay at New Orleans.
I think New Orleans is going to lose tonight. I'm taping this on a Monday morning, West Coast time, And people seem to think the line has been 2.5 all week because Vegas really wants people to take Atlanta because they feel like Atlanta doesn't totally need this game because they can still clinch the number 1 seed next week against Carolina. I disagree. I think they want to beat New Orleans. That's been the bully in their division the last couple of years. And I think it matters to them. Like, why wouldn't it matter to them? It's a Monday night. What do you want to lose this game for?
Yeah.
So, with that said, that means this game will mean something for the Saints. So I'm going to say Saints by 7.
All right. I agree with that. And we all had 7, and it is 7.
Okay.
Now, the Saints, this is as big a game. Yeah, I agree. All right, if they did lose tonight, they could possibly go 10-6. I don't think they get. I mean, the difference of a 5 or 6 seed, people don't usually care, the teams. But it's big this year. You want to go to that NFC West team, you know?
Yeah, you want the 5. You want to be favored by 10 in St. Louis in round 1.
Right.
You do not want to go to Philly.
Yeah, you'd go to Philly otherwise, or maybe Chicago, but probably Philly. This is a big game for New Orleans, probably.
If I'm New Orleans, I don't want any part of Philly.
Right, but now Tampa also needs to win this game, and
because for the Saints, you're playing indoors against a bad team, like it's a double win. And then if you get Philly, you're outdoors against the scariest really the scariest player in the league.
It's huge.
So, yeah,
it's the biggest matchup.
So
you don't think Tampa has a chance? I mean, you were I don't know, you were all Tampa yesterday.
We watched the games together. Did I black out again?
You blacked out. You went into the men's room, and then I heard you screaming, and then I checked my phone later that night. I don't know why it didn't ring, but I got this message from you.
Cousin Sal, Christmas came a day late for the sports guy. That's right. My Lord and Savior Josh Freeman was taken by the 3 wise men from the Holy Manger into Raymond James Stadium in Tampa. And just like that, right there in my stocking, 5 touchdown passes, batteries not included, no assembly required, Goodwill Hunting, and any other 3-word descriptions I may have forgotten. And this is one gift I'm not giving back. Another one I'm not returning is a great big book of love and basketball by Bill Simmons, now available in paperback and in packing peanuts. Now, if you excuse me, I have to go build the fort out of Bill Spaceman Lee's Topps rookie card. Gronkowski, say it with me.
That's right. I still don't remember leaving that one.
All over the place.
You know, I'll tell you one thing. I got a lot of Josh Freeman emails and tweets yesterday because young Josh Freeman won about 20,000 people their fantasy league yesterday.
He did, right? Career day.
And it was one of those things where if you looked at the matchups and he was your backup, he was probably a better option than almost anybody else you had, unless you had Brady or somebody.
Yeah.
But,
he wouldn't have pulled up at the 2-yard line if he had a touchdown right in front of him.
So he had five touchdowns, and I think he threw for 250, 300.
Mm-hmm.
It was a monster day by Josh Freeman.
Yeah. You would think NBC would take note of that before flexing a horrible Seattle team into their lineup Sunday.
I mean, and they had guys, number 17 got carried off during the game. I think that was a really Ben.
Yeah.
But this team, they started 10 guys yesterday. I think they've lost 7 or 8 starters.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Seattle's not good. I took Seattle in that game just because it was like, how many injuries can Tampa have? But it seems like Freeman's getting better.
That would be fun if they pulled off that upset in New Orleans and it meant something. Wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be good?
If you're the Saints, you have to be a little afraid of that game.
Yeah. I just wish they would have beaten somebody good this year. Like, I know they played close against some tough teams, but...
So what's the scenario for Tampa to make it? The Saints need to lose tonight. Tampa needs to beat them.
Assume the Saints... Yeah, I don't know how it figures in with the Saints, but a lot has to happen. Green Bay has to lose to Chicago next week.
I thought the Redskins had to beat the Giants, too,
and
right?
the Giants. Both those things have to happen, yeah.
How are the Giants... See, Goodell needs to step in and just declare that the Giants have been eliminated.
Yeah.
There should be no scenario that they can make the playoffs.
Oh, so awful. They've really folded.
All right, what else do we got?
What do we got? Buffalo at the Jets.
Jets need it, obviously.
I don't know. No, they made the playoffs.
They don't need it for 5 versus 6?
I mean, let's see. Well, they'll. I guess they play the same time as New Orleans. Let's see. All right, let me look at this real quick. This is terrible.
I'm going to say they don't need it, and I'm going to say Jets by 3.5.
I don't think they need it. No, they don't need it because they're 10-5. Baltimore's 11-4, and Baltimore beat them. I think they're locked into the 6.
All right, so I'm gonna say Jets by 3.5.
All right, I said 4, and it's 3. So you get it. You get that one.
I like the Bills in that game.
Yeah.
I like the
it
Jets
too.
trying that game.
I don't know. I don't know why that. Well, maybe this would be. You don't want to lose 2 in a row going into the playoffs, though, right?
Well, one thing about the Jets, they like to put their best foot forward.
Oh,
come on! Anybody? Hello?
Quite a feat.
Thank you.
Bill Simmons pulling that off.
Thank you.
Do you think the players give him crap for it, or is it off limits?
We were talking about that yesterday. There should be videotape of some of the Jets players reacting. Just kind of talking about this story would be one of the funniest hidden tapes that you could hear.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I didn't really like the story because it just made me feel bad for him and his wife, and I just thought it was embarrassing and whatever. But it did open up that whole foot fetish world that I'd never really thought about. And you watch those videos, and I just don't get it. It just eludes me.
I know. And I think he's mad about it. Like, well, first of all, he hasn't even admitted it's him, but he should, right? Otherwise, it's another guy with his wife.
If it's not you, it's another dude.
Yeah, so just say it's you. But he'll be doing a Lamisol ad in 6 months, and he'll be making a joke of it, I'm sure.
The move in these situations, hammered home time and time again, is just to admit that you did it, and it's over.
Yeah. What section of the move, I like the move in this situation we're talking about, is there a handbook on how to handle the foot fetish claims?
I don't know.
What's the move in this situation?
I think whatever his move is now becomes the move.
Yeah. All right, so now we're Sunday afternoon, Giants at Washington. This was moved to the afternoon.
We still haven't mentioned one good game. Oh, Saints-Bucks is a good game. All right, so we only have one good game so far. Right?
Mm-hmm. Well,
Giants?
we like taking Cleveland. It's not a good game.
I'm talking about for gambling we have games, but I'm saying just for general entertainment.
Yeah.
Saints-Bucks is the only possibility so far.
Mm-hmm.
Giants-Redskins. Redskins looked a little frisky yesterday.
Giants beat the crap out of them like a month ago, maybe a little more. They could.
This line should be 3.5, but it's going to be Giants by 4.
All right, well, you get it anyway. It is 3.5. I said 4.5. So you get this. I'd stay away from this. I don't know.
I like the Redskins.
I don't love Rex Grossman. I don't understand what he's doing, how he's doing it out there. But, yeah.
I said this to you yesterday. This McNabb thing is Drew Bledsoe all over again.
Right.
Where it seems improbable that he got benched. Oh, my God, they benched him. And then he might never start another game, and we'll look back and be like, man, that was weird. All of a sudden, he just never played anymore.
Are you crying? What's going on? Getting very upset over Drew Bledsoe. And then he ended up going to the Cowboys. It was Bill Parcells' huge move.
Well, no, I was talking about the end with Drew Bledsoe and the Cowboys.
No, I know.
Look at his stats.
Yeah.
Like the last 9 games, they weren't terrible, but they also weren't winning. And if you actually watch the games, you'd be like, wow, this guy can't move anymore.
That's the whole thing. It's the mobility, and when you're signing McNabb, you're hoping to get that. Otherwise, there's a lot of guys like him.
Andy Reid takes a lot of crap, but you got to give him credit for cutting the cord.
Yeah,
and sticking with Vic, all that stuff. Like it really all worked out.
It was smart. Tennessee at Indy. This game does mean something for Indy. They win and they're in. Or if
and they're playing at the same time as the Jags, right?
Yeah, they moved that game too. So
you know, definitely playing God this year.
It is. Give him a torch to snuff out.
I think this is a teaser, and it's Colts by 8.
Let me see where it is. Okay, I said 7, and it's 8.5. So you get it. Right.
Teaser.
Killing me here.
Teaser.
Indy Pittsburgh so far?
We have Indy Pittsburgh, and we have.
We don't need a third team.
With the Saints, too.
Oh, yeah, I know, but I want to root for the Bucs, don't you?
Yeah. Well, you don't have to tell me I'm rooting for the Bucs.
All right, Dallas at Philly.
Tell you one thing. That's Stephen McGee, not terrible.
I don't mind him. And he's got an arm, and they should put him in. That's what they should do. I mean, thank you, John Kitna, for all you brought, but let's see what's going on just in case Romo doesn't work out.
Don't be shocked if somebody gives you like a second-round pick for him this year.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Think of Whitehurst Seattle gave up, I think, a second or a third rounder for Whitehurst.
Isn't that something? Like, you get way more for Stephen McGee than Donovan McNabb right now. All right, Dallas at Philly.
Ooh. I think it's at least 10. Although, if Philly wins today, are they locked in or they're still playing for something?
No, they want that 2 seed. That's a pretty big thing. They don't want to go to Chicago.
All right, so I'm going to hit this one exact. It's Philly by 10.5.
All right, almost close. Not exact. I said 13.5, and it's 11.5. So you get that.
I am the king of Week 17.
Thrashing me. This is Dallas does not win this kind of game. I mean, once in a blue moon, they'll surprise like the Giants, but they don't go into Philly and win something like that.
Well, there's some good news for you, Mr. Cousin Sal.
What is it?
First of all, your team did the right thing and lost a close game, and for draft pick status, now
only our kicker was thinking about that. The one who's not even going to be around to enjoy the draft pick. But yeah,
so you're going to be in like the 7 to 11 range for a draft pick.
That's nice.
Your coach did not do enough to keep the job, which means you'll have a real coach next year.
Right.
A lot of good things.
That's all I want. I want them to be competitive and lose, right? Except it's heartbreaking when it happens. But
the coach hire is going to be real interesting because, everybody knows Jerry Jones is hands-on.
Yeah.
And I just think Cowher is smart enough to avoid that. But maybe somebody like Gruden, a little bit younger, seduced by the star at midfield, all that stuff.
We were talking to people who think that Gruden is not the answer. Like he throws his players under the bus, and he's
right.
It's funny. Like Jerry Jones prides himself, as bad as this season has been. He's very happy from what we learned a few weeks ago that he didn't hire Shanahan. He win the Super Bowl was number one priority. Number two, make the Shanahan decision work for us, and that kind of did. They take pride in their coach hires. So
I'll tell you. Here's my prediction. I think it's Jeff Fisher.
You do?
Yeah, because he's a name guy. He's going to get pushed out because the owner's going to side with Vince Young and that whole thing. He's had a lot of success. I can totally see him on the sideline. Mm-hmm. He's a defensive coach. I think if you're Fisher, these coaches all want to go somewhere where there's a QB in place because you can't win without a QB, as we learn every year. So the two best jobs are Houston. Well, actually, I guess the Giants is a good job, too, if that opens. But if you go to Houston, you get Matt Schaub. If you go to Dallas, you get Romo. Like, at least you have a chance coming out of the gate. You're not starting off with Matt Hasselbeck. That was Pete Carroll's biggest mistake.
Yeah.
He jumped at that job, and he didn't have a quarterback.
That's true. I think Garrett gets rehired.
Oh, that would be terrible.
I think they do it.
Spend the money. Get a real coach.
I agree. Good start on Craigslist and work your way up. Jacksonville at Houston.
Wow, the Jags. Mojo, I think he won't finish top 5 MVP, but when you look at what happened to them the last 2 weeks, they just fell apart once he got hurt. I'm going to say Texans by 1.
All right, I said Jags by 3, and it's Jags by 2.5.
I don't agree with that.
When the team still needs to win, you just have to favor them, right?
But they were the worst team on the field yesterday against the Redskins.
They were bad. The Texans blow every game down the stretch.
Yeah, the Texans, if anybody should have fired their coach on the plane, it should have been the Texans.
Oh, God.
How many terrible losses can they have?
He was not 8-8. He should just do press conferences and say, hey, I didn't go 8-8.
I'm going to gloat a little bit, Cousin Sal.
Good.
Tebow, it was really me and Adam Carolla and like 3 other born-again Christians. We're the only 5 people who thought Tebow was going to make it as an NFL quarterback and actually be really good. And I wrote this. I thought Jacksonville should have taken him last year and traded up for him and even maybe taken him at number 12 because even if he comes through, that makes your franchise. Like the Denver fans were chanting Tebow yesterday during that game at the end.
I love him. Number 1 jersey. You did. You called it. You called it ahead of time.
I'm rarely right, so I get to gloat over this stuff. But I just, how many times can we learn that quarterback is not about arm strength and all that? It's all about intangibles and how you carry yourself and feel for the game. And didn't Drew Brees teach us all this stuff?
Yeah, I know, and we just keep forgetting. But I kind of watch Tebow, and he doesn't look like he should be as fast as he is. And I just feel like one day he's going to look like he's going to start running like he appears to be.
He's sneaky fast. he gets to places that you don't think he can get to, but he gets there. And the other thing is, you just watch him throw, and his throwing motion is just doesn't seem right.
I know.
But yet the ball gets there, so stop analyzing it. The guy's good.
It's all bizarre. Yeah, but that's the thing with these guys. Here's what I'll say about a guy like Tebow: when their throwing motion is weird, and when it's working, it's great. But when he throws an interception off that weird form, you just want to kill him. You're like, oh, of course that pass is 14 yards short. Look how he throws.
Phil Rivers dealt with that for a couple of years, too, before everybody just finally said, all right, this guy's good. Let's stop picking apart the way he throws.
Yeah. I feel that way with Cutler, too. It seems like everything's 20 yards out of bounds, and it comes down the end zone.
I think it's funny that McDaniels really went all in on that move, and he ends up getting fired, and really that's the only thing Denver fans have right now.
Yeah.
That maybe we have a quarterback, and McDaniels isn't there.
It's true. Well, they should retain him as a draft expert. Chicago at Green Bay.
Nice one. I'm going to hit this exact.
Green Bay needs to win. Chicago needs to win also to keep a 2 seed.
I think this line should be 3, but it's going to be 3.5.
All right.
Packers by 3.5.
All right, I nailed this. It's Packers by 6. I got it on. Right on.
But as you pointed out, the Bears actually do need this game.
I would really play hard if I were the Bears. You don't want to go to Philly. You want to stay home where you can take care of anybody except New England.
That number 2 seed is a sneaky, underrated advantage.
Yeah.
Because you get the bye, you're guaranteed basically to face the number 3 team in round 2 unless there's an upset. And all you have to do is go into the number 1 seed in round 3. But then you have the chance that they might lose in round 2, and then all of a sudden you have home field throughout the playoffs.
Right. I mean, New Orleans could go to Atlanta in the second round. I think that's how it would work if they beat the NFC West team, and upset them. And then all of a sudden you're looking Chicago home against New Orleans in the championship. We're getting way ahead of ourselves, but that would be. I
would go all out in that Bears game.
Yeah, definitely.
And also, I think the Packers got a little bit of a bump because they looked so good against the Giants last week, but I'm not sure they're as good as they looked in that game. And so it's always nice to get you a little extra value. I think that line should be no higher than 4.
Maybe we tease that to 12 or something, whatever it ends up being.
Yeah.
San Diego at Denver.
Norv should have been fired after that game. Another one who should have been fired in the plane.
Oh, maybe on the shuttle to the plane. I don't even think they wait that long.
I actually, when I was making my preliminary picks, this is the toughest line for me.
One more thing about Norv. I was sort of rooting for him a little bit. I mean, as a former Cowboy coach, I was like, you know what? Maybe he's got like an NBA coach's mentality where you just take it easy in the beginning of the season because it's really kind of worked for every year, And then just you don't have to win 60 NBA games. You could coast. The division isn't great, and then just turn it on when you have to, and then you're in good shape for the playoffs. But it didn't work out. So
it is interesting that him and Wade, the 2 players, coaches, not big disciplinarians guys, they kind of had the same career arc for their last 2 teams.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to say Chargers by 4.
All right. I said 3, and it's 3.5, so we split that, right?
I like the Broncos.
Oh, you can't bet this game.
I like the Broncos.
Let's go to the next one. Arizona at San Fran.
Arizona at San Fran. This game, I hope I don't see a minute of, and I'm going to say Niners by 6.
Wow. Yeah, it's 6.5, but why would it be so high? The Vegas loves this. I said 4, so you get it.
I think the one, and I'm going to file this away for next year, the one thing we learned this year is that these bad QBs on the road, you just can't talk yourself into them.
Right.
Like that Panthers-Steelers game, and like an idiot, I took Clausen plus 15 because the Steelers are banged up, and it's like, these guys can't score on the road. They just can't put up points.
And they crumble once they get behind. They're not going to come back.
And then if you're playing down 10 on the road, they can't do anything. It's like that John Skelton 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
But, so on and so on. It's just not going to happen.
I agree. But, also you have to factor in the players really want to win for Tom Sula, whoever's coaching the Niners right now.
What Singletary did with the Smith brothers was epic. he somehow ruined both of their confidence in the same game. I have no idea why he started Troy Smith yesterday.
I think that was it. I think he started him just so he could yell at him one last time.
Troy Smith waived by the Ravens, now starting over number 1 overall pick.
What a mess. What a mess. And then St. Louis and Seattle. This is Winthrop versus UNC Nashville to see who gets in the field of 64.
I really thought about giving this to Pick'em, but we never have Pick'ems.
No.
So I'm going to say Seattle by 1.
All right. I thought Seattle by 2, especially when they moved it tonight.
St. Louis by 3?
Dog. St. Louis is the favorite by 1.5. So you
That's
get
pretty
it.
good. I love the Rams in that game. I just think the Seahawks are atrocious.
Bradford on the road. I agree. The C- Hawks are just. I'm being generous there, but Bradford on the road in basically a playoff game favored. You never would have thought it. Good for him.
You look at the Rams schedule and what they did the first 15 games, and if it's another bad team, it didn't matter where the game was. They always showed up. And when they got into trouble was when it was a team like New Orleans or Atlanta or et cetera, et cetera. This is not a good Seahawks team. And the Rams are better, and they can run the ball, and he can throw, and they have good special teams, and they should win.
Wouldn't it be appropriate if it's just massive thunderstorm and hail and maybe a tsunami and some mudslides too somewhere in there for this awful NFC West?
Oh yeah, and they don't have the closed roof.
No.
Ooh. Yeah, that would be a nice way to end this weather.
Put a nice exclamation point on that hard division.
Last thing, Cousin Sal.
Yeah.
I went 4-0 in the Vegas Super Contest.
You're close now, right?
If I need Atlanta tonight. Might be the biggest game I've ever watched for gambling implications.
Really?
If I win this game, I move into the top 5 of this contest. And I, I'd be 2.5 out of first. So, it's not likely, but at least I'm not mathematically eliminated, and I have a really good chance to do top 10.
And top 5 gets paid, can you say, or what is it?
Yeah, it's on the website. Top 10 gets paid. If you finish in the top 10, it's like $20,000. So
wow.
I'm giving at least half of that to charity. I got to figure out which charity, because I just did this for the bragging rights. I didn't think I'd actually win money.
Hey, can you cut that out of the podcast, Jay? Because that's just not true. He's not giving any of it to charity.
I totally am. But no, the real goal was because I went to Vegas when I entered this contest, and I got killed. I lost, I don't know, like $1,500. It was the worst beating I've taken in Vegas.
Yeah.
And
I would love to get killed like that, by the way, but go ahead.
Well, so if I could just win, I sound like Rocky going into Rocky 1, talking to Adrian. If I could just go the distance. If I could just go the distance and retroactively pay for that trip. That's one of the great weekends I've ever had.
Well, that's good. Well, maybe you should hedge it. Put like $200,000 on New Orleans tonight.
I got Atlanta by 2.5.
Oh, you know what we do? This is how you do it. You can win both ways. We tease New Orleans and Pittsburgh.
No, I'm all in on Atlanta.
Yeah,
5-0 week 16 would be the highlight of my of my NFL season, obviously.
All right.
And then I could go into week 17. I'd need to go like 3-2, and I'd finish top 10.
Really? You think so?
The way it's set up, yeah.
That's great. All right.
But Atlanta could screw me, and now I'm totally regretting the pick because it was between Atlanta and Green Bay.
Yeah.
And I took Atlanta, and now I'm thinking like they need that. We talked about this before. Yeah, they need it, and on paper that makes a ton of sense. But I just hope they show up. I hope there's not a mentality of, well, we can take care of business next week against Carolina, and we're going to clinch number 1 anyway.
I had no sense for this game, but I have a feeling the last 3 or 4 minutes of this conversation were a waste. I'm betting the Saints. I'm sorry. I just have a feel. I feel bad for you. I know how these things work out for us.
I've never been more excited for a non-Patriot regular season game. I'm going to watch it by myself. I don't even want to be near my family. You're going to be watching in a room by myself with a small TV.
You'll be screaming law firm at every Pierre Thomas 2-yard run.
Come on, Falcons. Come through for me. All right, Cousin Sal, have a happy New Year.
You too. Let me just say, Jimmy Kimmel Live reruns, but good ones. Mark Wahlberg, Jeff Bridges, Helen Mirren, Mario Batali, John Krasinski. Or was that last week? No, that's this week. Watch. It'll be good.
Oh, and in the fantasy league, it looks like Dak Shepard beat me.
Dak Shepard.
In the GMC Jimmy Kimmel Live fantasy
he did.
league.
That was you did a good job. Made it all the way.
Once again, proving how dumb fantasy is. I had the most dominant team by far, and then he has Dwayne Bowe, and he gets a huge Aaron Rodgers game, et cetera, and I'm out.
I know. And he sleeps with Kristen Bell. My God, the rich get richer.
Happy New Year, cousin.
All right, buddy. See ya.
Talk to you.
So I get to sign off. Whoa.
Thank you for downloading the B.S Report with Bill Simmons.
Too much fun.
Check out more podcasts at the iTunes Music Store or at Podcenter at ESPNradio.com.
Peace out.
Thanks, Bill. We can always count on you to come through with the good stuff. Kind of like how we can count on Subway to come through with flavorific $5 footlongs all day, every day. Talking about classics like the monumentally mouth-watering and low-fat Black Forest ham, or the triumphant tower of taste known to all as the splendid spicy Italian, ready to conquer your hunger with taste bud tempting flavor. It's amazing that all this jaw-dropping deliciousness comes at a price as low as $5. You're great, Bill, but $5 footlongs are in a league of their own. Subway. Eat fresh.